The end. Boy, that was a long one.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
All right, Walker,
love
stay
how
on the line.
Yep.
I'm going to get you taped here in a minute.
Yeah, you have to record your walkers as well.
Okay.
Oh,
Walker,
right.
you didn't get to hear that because I didn't turn my mic on, but I love how everybody goes, man, that was a long one, haha. And then, like, the only one that feels the consequence of that is this guy.
All right, so tell me when you're ready.
Yeah.
All right. Walkers.
Welcome to the Friday Game Night Pick'em Show here on AccessWDUN.com. Bo Wilson alongside Jeff Hart, Caleb Hutchins, Walter McCrary, and our producer, Seth Chapman. What's up, fellas?
Not much.
Not much.
Just hanging
Doing
around.
great.
What?
I'm just doing great.
Oh, you did great.
There's a little bit of a delay
It's a
between
delay.
what we're
It's
hearing
the
with
cold
Walker.
weather. That's
I
what it
guess.
is that you guys are
Oh, it's
loving.
I
great.
like the other
I love this
opening
cold
better.
weather.
Football weather.
You guys like wearing like pullovers and warm
Yeah,
stuff.
man. I got the pullovers
Yeah,
back out of the closet,
I
man.
hate
It's good.
cold weather, but I do like the smell of football. And this is the smell of football.
Now,
this
the
time
smell
of
of
year.
football is
Slash
freshly
winter
cut
apparel
grass.
No,
is
it's not.
just
Yes, it is.
superior
It's a
clothing.
tiny crisp
That's-
in the air.
that's just
is
it.
the football weather.
Tiny crisp. You
I like
call Tiny Crisp 31 degrees?
Well, it's not Friday night.
Okay.
It's not
Yeah, it
Friday
Sounds
night.
like a
Not
cereal.
Friday night yet.
First
That's
off,
right.
it's not even cold until it gets in the 30s during game time.
Well, I would disagree. First of all, I get cold below 70, so I'm already cold once it's below 70. But 50 is
You know what
50's
would
cold.
You know
50's
what would
cold.
help with your problems with this cold weather, Bo? Not wearing khaki shorts year round.
That's the problem.
No,
Bo,
dude.
speaking of apparel, can we roll the clip?
Yes, roll the clip.
Roll the clip.
Only
it have a
polos are
collar?
polos.
Oh,
Does it have
my
a collar?
God.
Does it have a collar?
Does
Yeah,
it
but it's not a polo.
Okay.
You guys didn't live the polo existence. I did. You guys are too young for that.
What is
I'm
the
wearing a
polo
polo is
existence?
still
I have
around,
a
dude.
collar.
Yeah, but
It's called
polo is a polo shirt and only a polo
Polo
shirt.
invented
Hey,
the
everybody!
polo shirt.
Everybody, stop for just a second. Hey, Seth, what are you wearing?
A shirt.
A collared shirt. It's not
what
a polo.
kind of shirt, Seth?
It's not a
golf
polo
shirt.
It's not a polo shirt.
You're supposed to have my back on that one.
Yeah, it is a polo shirt.
No,
It's a
polo
polo.
shirt.
Yeah,
Go
but
to
no.
belt.com.
I think what you're trying to establish is that everybody just calls collared shirts polos.
Yes.
So, last week we talked about, what do you call a shirt with a collar?
Yes.
We ran a poll on Twitter.
Yes.
Jeff, you're wrong. 76% of people say that it's called a polo.
Well, first of all, just because
So that's my interesting stat of the show.
that's your
Here's some things you need to know.
It's
Walkers.
interesting stat of the show.
interesting side of the show. Okay. Well,
The takeover.
So here's the thing. Just because 76%, whatever it was, percent of the people say something does not make it right.
7.
And that's right. 6, 70,
76.
whatever. It could be 3 people. They're wrong.
Right.
So I'm sorry. Yeah, that's your poll, but they're all wrong.
What that poll did not illustrate, Walker, is that number was at about 93% before Jeff's half dozen or so fake
That's
accounts
true.
got in there and voted.
Actually,
And diluted the poll.
now this is an interesting stat. It won't shock you. I was not able to figure out how to vote in that poll. So there you go. There's your interesting stat.
That is not an interesting stat.
There
Nor
might-
a shocking stat.
There might not be anything easier to do on Twitter than vote on a poll.
I
tagged him in the poll, too.
I know.
It's not
I
like
got
you
it.
couldn't find it.
And it said vote here, and every time I hit the thing, it would not give me an option to
Okay.
vote.
The problem was
I think you rigged it, is
Jeff,
what it was.
Jeff was trying to vote more than once because it only allows you to vote
I
once.
didn't even vote
So
the
what
first
happened
time.
is you forgot that you voted
But
once and tried to
but
go
let me
vote
tell you,
again.
it wouldn't have mattered because when I asked my wife the unofficial question, she threw me under the bus
What makes the question unofficial?
because I wasn't able to vote in it. So there you go. It doesn't count. But my wife said, "Oh, that's a polo." So and I said, even she's too young for me because apparently it's old people like myself.
Well,
that's what we polo shirt to
back
me
in
growing up in Alabama was only a polo. Otherwise, it was just a shirt.
but that's
polo
a Ralph
shirts-
Lauren shirt.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
about to say
Okay.
polo shirts
Yes.
became called polo shirts because of the sport polo,
Oh, I know
That's
you
right.
sent me all this
Yeah.
stuff. I don't care.
not
So.
because of Ralph
don't
Lauren.
Yeah, not because of Ralph Lauren.
It's
a
He was not
Ralph Lauren
He was not
polo.
the first. Right, he was not the first.
You know what you can do
Okay,
with your
so-
poll? You can just move on to the next thing. That's what
I'm
you
just
can do.
glad to have
So what-
taken over a segment 1 week after its inception.
There you go.
Well, We appreciate that.
So
I was struggling with the I have something. Bo hates it, but I thought it was interesting. But that's the best thing I could come up with because it was kind of a weak.
Okay, so just so we're clear, I just went and did some research and ran the numbers. If Jeff had voted in that poll, it would have gone from 76% of people saying that it's a polo to 74. Big difference that would have made in that poll.
It just goes to show you I am worth 2% of the population. So every time I vote, it means something. That's what that means.
Okay, well, let's move along. Last week's standing, Seth Chapman is unblemished. Finished 13-0, his first perfect week, or the first perfect week.
Was he really undefeated? He missed the lock.
He did miss the lock, but he was undefeated.
I don't think you can call me completely undefeated having missed the lock.
Well, he was the first one to go whatever it was on the regular picks other than the lock.
So Walker was 12.
He did a dance. You missed it, Walker.
Yeah.
He was dancing over here.
Quit feigning humility while you cruise to victory, you jerk.
Oh, it's becoming a beatdown at this point.
For real.
Walker's only 2 picks behind. Walker's only 2 picks behind, but me and Bo are 9 picks behind Walker.
Because
and Caleb is 10 picks behind Walker, which means.
Listen, Jeff, because of the 13-0 week, we have come up with another news segment.
News segment.
And this one is just for Seth.
I'm going to cut this entire segment.
You can't do it.
So, Seth,
I think you vastly do not understand
the
ability of what I
you're
can and cannot do,
segment.
Walker.
So
I can change your name
here are
to
the
Walter.
rules.
I can do it.
Wow.
Here are the rules, or the rule of this one.
Okay.
Walker, check that. Seth is going to pick a game outside of our coverage area.
Okay.
Well, you're going to pick it.
That I know which teams I probably know not a lot about.
No, you know about both of these teams. We're keeping it fair.
Let's just set this up, okay? All right. So you're going to pick who you think's going to win said game, and if you get it correct, we're going to give you 2 wins. If you get it wrong, we're going to give you 2 losses.
Yeah, but see, here's the problem with that.
That's a win-win.
This is only for me, though.
That's correct.
That's correct.
It's literally a way to make me lose. That's all it is for you.
You know what? You know what, Bo? Let's compromise for it.
Okay, we'll compromise.
Let's compromise. We'll give him just 1 loss if he gets it wrong. That way he doesn't cut the segment.
Okay.
But if he wins, he gets 2 wins.
Okay.
But this is the blue shell in Mario Kart. This is just trying to rubber band everybody back into the pack here by handing Seth an extra loss every week.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is like slowing Usain Bolt down by handing him a freaking boulder. Like that's all it is.
But you're
throwing heavy things at him and telling him to catch.
Hey, Seth,
this
is your own fault because you went perfect. It's your own. If you had lost,
why am I being punished for being successful?
Because that's the way of the world now, Seth.
Because when Bo loses, he hosts the show, and that means he gets to start changing the rules all of a sudden.
That's right.
Why do you think we have 4 new segments this year?
Fine. Give me the teams.
So here's the new segment. Okay?
Okay.
It's Stevens at Hart County.
Oh,
look. I know this one still.
Ooh.
He's going to get this right. You know that, right?
Yeah, he should.
Are we able to give him any clues whatsoever? No clues.
No clues.
Can't even tell him if teams are ranked or not.
One team's the Indians and one team's the Bulldogs. That's your clue.
There you go.
Both teams are in 8-3A.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
That is at Hart County, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, at Hart County, and I'm still going with Stevens on this one.
Okay.
I told you he's going to.
All right, now here's the second part of this.
I was not told about a second part. What is this?
If you do happen to get this right, we're going to eliminate the whole segment next week.
That's hysterical. If I just prove that I'm that good, then you're just gonna be like, I can't
It's
anymore.
not going to count.
Okay. Oh, so let's revise this one additional time. If I get it wrong, you're definitely counting it against me. If I get it
that would
right,
be correct.
heck with the extra 2 wins, we're just deleting the segment.
That's
It's
correct.
like sandbagging if someone else was throwing the sandbags into the hot air balloon.
Okay, what's this second part now?
That was it.
There wasn't a second part.
That was it.
That was it.
If you happen to get it right, we're going to eliminate the segment.
That's it. Well, alrighty then.
I like this segment. I like the new
Yeah,
segment, Bo.
yeah.
I like the new segment.
Maybe that's the actual funny theme of it. Like we leave this in,
Yeah.
and then like we go, and then like it just hard cuts somewhere. Like if I get it right, it just hard cuts.
Yeah. All right, guys. 11,000 people or 12,000 people,
11,000.
whatever it was, visited Tom Ryden Stadium last week for, what was like not, it wasn't a very big game, was it? Huge, right?
It was every bit of 11,000, wasn't it, Seth?
Oh yeah, I got to share the sideline with Kirby Smart. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
And
Ohio-
Ryan
the
Day.
Ohio-
Ryan Day was there too.
Ryan
Ohio
Day,
State. Yep, there was a lot of people there.
So you three were there. I think
I saw
Walker
Jess
probably watched
Simpson.
it.
I saw Jess Simpson there also. I can't say his name now. All of
Yeah.
a sudden, Jess Simpson, I noticed, was on the sideline too.
I did not see. I
missed
didn't see
Jess.
him.
I don't know how you miss a guy that big, but somehow we did, I guess.
You're on the sideline of Buford. I mean,
So guys, talk about the game, man. Just for a brief moment.
I think it was an incredible atmosphere. It was electric. But even before we got there, you knew it was big because we got there at 5:45 or whatever it was, and there was not a parking spot where they said there was supposed to be a parking spot because people showed up at 2:00 to take parking spots and move the reserve signs that you had
Wow.
for press and stuff. So we had to park almost around to the backside near the other end zone. To get in, and then we had to beg them to let us in because it was so many people there.
At
already.
least you got to park at the building.
Yeah.
Well, that is
I
true.
parked at a warehouse on Sawney Avenue and ran about a half mile up to get to the stadium.
Yeah, you're lucky your car was still there when you got there.
Yeah, for real.
But no, it was an electric atmosphere. It was I mean there was just a lot of buzz before the game, and the crowd was I mean it was almost a full stadium, a good 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
To before game time, which we go to games all the time, and most crowds are late arriving.
Right.
They don't really start to file in till 15 minutes before kickoff. I mean, this place was packed. I hadn't seen a high school game in my time in Georgia like this one as far as that goes, which was really good to see because I would love to see more crowds like that. No matter where we go.
We did the documentary me and Seth did a couple of years ago or last year actually, about the Flowery Branch Gainesville State semifinal in 2009. That's the only game I can think of that was like that, atmosphere-wise. Like when walking into the building, it was actually kind of giving me flashbacks to that night, like in terms of the atmosphere. It really felt very similar, except this was in the regular season,
Right.
and it was this way. That was a state semifinal, but getting to the actual game itself, because we could talk about the crowd all day. I thought it was.
Get to the game, I will tell you because me and Seth were there. Both teams ran out, so like for warm-ups, the Buford crowd unmercifully booed the Mill Creek group.
unmercifully is the very correct word for that.
It was loud.
Just
And then when Buford came out, the Mill Creek crowd, which wasn't small by any stretch, they were. I mean, it was a full-blown. It was. A good 45 minutes to an hour before game time. I mean, it was already game on.
And I think we saw the proof of what you had said earlier, that these communities are not exactly fond of one another.
No.
They did not. In fact, I don't know if you saw during the game, there was one of the penalty things, I think it was late, where Lovelady and App actually looked like they were kind of pointing at each other at one point, which, because when I talked to them last week, they were like, we have a lot of mutual respect for each other. So, boy, the intensity of that game was something else.
Well, moving to the actual game itself, I thought this was a masterfully coached game by Brian Appling and Buford staff. I really think the coaching probably won this game for Buford and the game plan coming in. Buford dialed up. Walker pointed out last week that Buford would have a lot of stuff dialed up that they hadn't shown all year. They had that stuff. They used it early, which I thought was brilliant because I think Brian Appling and crew realized that with the kind of athletes Mill Creek had, Buford, with the style of play they like to fall back on, really needed to play with the lead. And because they dialed up all that stuff early, they had that wide open touchdown to Eli McElwain. They had the halfback pass that got them down to the goal line on the first drive. They went for 2 right out of the gate. They did all those things early. They got them that early lead. They were able to play with the lead. And in the second half, even though Mill Creek really outplayed Buford in a lot of respects in the second half, they were never able to catch up enough to the point that Buford couldn't just line up and hand the ball off to Justice Haynes and just lean on that ground game, which is exactly what they did. And eventually Mill Creek's defense cracked.
Look, I think Mill Creek made a huge – we and Seth were talking about this on the way home. after we left the stadium, like almost midnight, whatever it was.
Yeah, it was. By the time I was like texting Brooke that I was going to be home
the TV
soon,
commercials were a little ridiculous.
it was midnight.
The TV commercials were a little ridiculous for a high school game. I will say that. But, it's great for the exposure. But we were talking about this. I think Mill Creek made a huge tactical mistake right out of the gate. When you got an offense like that and you want Buford to play from behind, why not take the ball when you win the coin flip? Today's football, it's almost like you're going to be criticized if you take the ball instead of deferring to the second half. If I want to put pressure on a team like Buford right from the gate, and I think you said it right, I would want to get the lead against Buford, make them play from behind. So what are you going to do? You give them the ball first. That was a huge mistake because Buford went right down, scored, got the lead, and Mill Creek was on their heels the rest of the game instead of the other way around. That's a huge mistake. And I don't understand why coaches nowadays at all levels, they win the coin flip and it's just an automatic they're going to defer.
It's the better decision.
It is.
Why is that a better decision? If you have an offense that can go down and immediately put pressure on the other team, why not do that? Why, if you want to play from the
Passionate.
lead,
This is passionate. Let's see it in your face.
well, I'm just
I actually agree with Jeff on this.
I think that was a huge mistake, and I see it at all levels in college and pro. If you're not a good team playing from behind, or if you want to put pressure on a team, take the ball and go win the game. Go put the pressure on the other team instead of you're going to let the other team dictate to you what you're going to do. It's just like an overtime.
Well, you only allow them to dictate it to you if you let them score on the opening drive.
Look, I understand that, but if you have an offense, the matchup
or the final drive of the half.
True. But, look, we talked all week about the sexy matchup was their offense against the Buford defense. You get the ball first, you go right down and you jam it down Buford's throat and you score. You've already said, well, we have the best unit on the field and we're going to dictate to you. And now the Buford offense.
I don't think they were going to do that, though, if they got the ball first.
We don't
Walker,
know that.
what's your take on it?
I agree with Jeff. Like, if you've got the offense to be able to put a team that likes to play with a lead in a deficit right off the bat, that's what you should do. And I agree with Jeff. I was surprised when Mill Creek deferred to the second half and gave Buford the ball, knowing that Buford probably had some things they hadn't shown, knowing that Justice Haynes has the ability to just spring a big run at any time. I'm shocked that Mill Creek did not want to try and put points on the board right off the bat. Yes, you don't get the ball to start the second half, but if you're behind 21-7 or whatever it is at halftime, you're already down 2 possessions and you get the ball. I think that putting a team in a pressure scenario right off the bat, like Mill Creek had the opportunity to do, is something that should be done more often.
Absolutely. But y'all,
and I'm surprised to say I'm agreeing with Jeff Hart on that.
Look, and y'all two said
I don't necessarily disagree with.
Well, you said it's. You just said it matter of factly. It's a better play. It's not always the better play.
Yes, Jeff. Yes, I said that.
Not most of the time. I think it is a better play,
right,
but
most of the time
in Mill Creek's scenario, it's not like that.
There are what Walker is saying. There are scenarios.
Yeah, but none of these coaches
most of the time,
ever take advantage of that.
I agree with that.
Well, yeah, you're right. A lot of them don't, but some of them do. So.
I'll stick to my guns on it. I'm a firm believer that you always defer because
football before 2000s was played where if you won the coin flip, you took the ball. So how did this suddenly flip in the last 20 years?
Because the drive you are least likely to score on is the first drive of the game.
I think the San Francisco 49ers back in the 80s and 90s when they had the first 15 to 20.
Here we go. All right, let's move on.
But look,
let's get to the games of the week that we're going to take a look at. We're going to start first with
that was an interesting stat of the week coming up.
It was just a great, interesting one, Joe. All right. We're going to take a look at 5 games this week and go in depth on that. Gainesville at Shiloh is going to be number 1 because this game is important to both teams. Gainesville coming into this as a 24-point favorite in this one down at Shiloh. Gainesville also coming off a win over Habersham last week. If they get this win, this is going to essentially set up, and North Forsyth wins a region championship at City Park between North Forsyth and Gainesville. Shiloh, they're not terrible. This could be one of those pesky games for Gainesville.
Look, I think it's more than a pesky game. I mean, I think in the previews that I put out this week, to me the key matchup is the Gainesville defense against the Shiloh offense. I mean, Gainesville has not allowed more than 23 in any game, but Shiloh has averaged 41 points a game over the last 5 games, and they scored 34 or more 4 times. Mm-hmm. They're going to score. I mean, this is kind of like we talked about with Mill Creek and Buford last week. they're going to score. I just the offense is that good. I think Gainesville wins this game. I'll just go ahead and start the pick. I think Gainesville wins this game, but this is going to be a much closer game. And if Gainesville makes mistakes, if they don't play consistently for 4 quarters, which they've done a lot better job of in the second half of the season, Shiloh can, and they're at home. Shiloh can win this game. I'm going to pick Gainesville. I think it's going to be a much closer game than most people would imagine.
So if Gainesville wins the toss, do they take the ball? I'm going to go with Gainesville this one.
Wow.
Any further analysis, Bo, on that
That's
one?
all I've got.
Okay.
That's it?
All right.
Okay.
No, listen, I agree with Jeff that I think the key matchup here is the Gainesville defense against the Shiloh offense.
Mm-hmm.
I am taking the Gainesville defense in that one. I just don't think – I think you got to have some horses to score on this Gainesville defense that I don't know if Shiloh has. I think Shiloh will put some points. I don't think this is a shutout like with Habersham Central last week, but I also don't think this is a game that Gainesville's at risk of giving up a 30 spot or anything like that. So I think Gainesville wins this. The line is, 24? I think that's probably about right. I could see this like a 38-14 type of thing, something like that. I think they got the line about right on this one, so I'll take Gainesville pretty comfortably.
It actually feels like Gainesville defense is underrated.
Yeah,
and I think it's pretty good.
Well, their playmakers can be so explosive that I feel like that's where kind of everybody wants to direct the attention is the highlight reels. But their defense is better than their offense is.
Look,
Their defense is more.
good.
Their defense is more consistent. Their defense, I think, is better from start to finish than their offense can fall into some lulls here and there.
Right.
I haven't seen that much out of this defense yet this year, outside of maybe the second half at Marist, but that's about it.
Walker, what you got?
is that Gainesville North Forsyth game next week, or is that the regular season finale?
I think that's the season finale.
No,
No,
I
it's
think it's
next week. It's next
It is
week.
next
Yeah.
week.
I thought it was next week,
Yeah,
and that's
because-
where I throw in there that this is a weird trap game for Gainesville. Shiloh's offense is good.
Real good.
Don't be surprised if Shiloh is leading this game. For a good portion of the first half, as Gainesville may be looking ahead to that potential region championship game against North Forsyth. I think Gainesville wins this game, but Shiloh puts up a great fight and a very close game.
See, I don't worry about that as much with Gainesville. First off, because of Josh Niblett, I think he's good at preventing that kind of stuff. But secondly, because I don't know that there's, like we keep saying, Gainesville, North Forsyth is for the region title, but I don't know that there's a whole lot of separation between North Forsyth and Shiloh.
Right.
Like, do you guys think there is? I don't necessarily think that.
I think the North Forsyth defense is really good. I
agree.
And their offense, has had flashes of brilliance, and then
They have.
and
And
then
then those
5
interceptions.
turnovers.
Yeah, 5 or 6 turnovers.
So
See,
it
'cause
just depends on what you get.
Seth, what about you?
I'm going Gainesville, straight up.
All right, so is that a clean sweep across the board?
That's a clean sweep
Clean
across the board. Okay, Region 7-3A. It's one of those interesting regions, probably the most exciting one that we have at this moment. This game, key, Gilmer at Dawson County. This one, it's key for Gilmer from the standpoint of trying to get to the playoffs, especially after losing to Pickens County. It was at 27-10 last week. That was a complete shocking score.
Yeah, it was. I mean,
Maybe that's a new segment. Shocking score of the week.
well, I think,
Stop with the new segments.
I think the rivalry aspect came into play there. I don't know if Gilmer was battling injuries or anything like that, but man, like you said, that was a score that nobody saw coming. And it kind of reshapes the way we look at this region now because you have Wesleyan and Gilmer both getting beat. So now all the eyes shift to Dawson County and Lumpkin County. And that's what we're watching this week, right? Dawson, Lumpkin. I don't know if we're going to talk Lumpkin White later on, but Dawson Gilmer is one of them. I got Dawson at home. You got Gilmer coming off of that. There have got to be some upset feelings in that locker room after getting beat by their arch rival that way when they looked like the better team all year long. And now they got to go on the road to a Dawson County team that's coming on the other end of the emotional spectrum after a come-from-behind win at Wesleyan last week. Give me Dawson County in this one. I think this is a little bit of a buzzsaw mentally that Gilmer is walking into in Dawsonville this week.
Yeah, I think, you look at Gilmer and Paul Standard's offense. We all know what that is. Wing T, second year, I believe second year running the Wing T, and it seemed to be going very well. Of course, you look back to that Lumpkin game, Walker, Lumpkin-Gilmer. Gilmer leading that game. Gilmer gives the game kind of away. They're late to Lumpkin. Lumpkin wins that one. So Gilmer, obviously what Caleb says can echo a lot of that because they will be coming in with some hurt feelings into this game at Tiger Stadium. Dawson's going to have to, however, be able to stop the misdirection of the wing tee offense. If they can do that, which they've been pretty good against the run this year. I think they're averaging giving up 104 yards rushing a game. So if they can slow it down, I think Dawson wins this one. Plus, they have to hold on to the football because they have been known to turn the football over. I'm taking Dawson in this one.
Yeah, this game got a whole lot easier for me to pick after seeing what Pickens was able to do to Gilmer last week. I don't know what happened. Gilmer came out of that Lumpkin County game healthy. They didn't have any major injuries that happened in that game up in LJ 2 weeks ago. And something happened over the course of the week to where Pickens led from wire to wire. They were up 14-0 at one point, and like you said, ended up winning 27-10. I like Dawson County to win this game handily. Something's up in the locker room there for Gilmer. Don't know what it is, but it's going to bleed over into this game, and I think Dawson ends up pulling away in this one early and holds on to win.
I think Dawson as well. You know, that score is shocking last week, and it's kind of lends itself to, like you said, a buzzsaw.
You know, I'm going to go with Dawson also. The thing about this, you were talking about Gilmer. When they've been good, they've been really good. In their in their 5 wins, they've averaged 39 points a game. In their 3 losses, they've only scored 38 total points. So they're either really good or they're not good at all. And I agree with Bo. I think the Dawson defense is probably one of the more underrated units in the area about how consistently they played.
Yeah.
You talked about Gainesville, Caleb. I think Dawson is in that vein as well. Defensively, they've been pretty consistent all year, and the offense has gotten a little better. And I think that's a bad recipe for Gilmer coming off that game last week. So I'm going to go clean sweep for Dawson County.
Let's stick with 7-3-8. Lumpkin at White County, another pivotal game for White County. You could say maybe meaning a little bit more to White County at this moment because they're trying to get into the playoffs. They're getting healthier. This game here is a rival game for both programs. I'm going to let Walker start with this one because Walker, Lumpkin needs to get in there and get out with a win.
Yeah, I mean, this game equally as big for Lumpkin in that this game pretty much locks up a playoff spot. I know mathematically it doesn't, but you look at what the schedule lends itself and the other matchups that are there. 3 wins probably get you into the playoffs as the 4 seed at worst. So I think this game equally as big for Heath Webb's staff. It's a tough place to go play, though, in Cleveland. White County, like you said, getting healthier. They seem to be starting to click offensively. I mean, they just hung up a massive number on West Hall last week. But, it's one of those things that White County just has the mental edge normally in this rivalry game. I played in it 4 times, and White County won all 4 games that I played in. And I think I read sometime this week that Lumpkin's only won like 11 or 15 times in the entire history of the series. I really like, though, what Heath Webb has instilled in this Lumpkin County program, the thought that they are competitive in every game and can win every game. It's a complete change of focus for this Indians ball club. I like Lumpkin County to win this game very close. It's probably another last possession thing, and I think it's going to be somebody other than Mason Sullins. I don't know who it's going to be, but it's going to have to be somebody other than Mason Sullins, giving them some offense to be able to go up against this very stout defense that White County puts on the field.
Well, here's the interesting stat of the week.
Roll the clip.
Here's some things you need to know.
It's Jeff Hart's interesting stat of the show.
There you go. All right. White, you just mentioned it, Walker. White County has owned this series. I mean, let's just be honest. 40, 11, and 1. They've won 5 straight. 7 of the last 8 since 2012. They're 12-2 versus the Indians going back to 2006. And they're 23-3 against Lumpkin all time in Cleveland. It just has not been a good matchup for Lumpkin over the years. That being said, I'm also going to agree with you, Walker, that there's something different about this particular Lumpkin County group over White County. White County was my dark horse pick to win the region. Injuries may have derailed that. I mean, it's never too late. If they can win this game, they are right back in the playoff hunt. But I think Lumpkin coming into this, I think they're looking down there. They got Dawson. That could set up a region title. They've never done that. That's gonna set up and just an insane, almost it might be a Buford type atmosphere in Dahlonega if they can win this game. That's putting a lot of pressure on them. But I think this team and the way Heath Webb has put this group together mentally, I think they're up for the challenge. And I'm going to pick Lumpkin. I mean, you got to look at the history of this. It's probably an upset, but this year, I think right now they have the better team, and I'm going to take Lumpkin County.
Yeah, I think if you say it's an upset, maybe just because of the series record. I don't think
correct.
Because of what the two teams have done this year. Because honestly, if White County wins this game, I think that is the upset.
Well,
when you look at the body of work in 2022,
that's correct.
Lumpkin County and what they've done throughout the season, yes, Mason Sullins, Cooper Scott, Cal Faulkner, they've got the players. They've got them on both sides of the ball, and I think that's going to be one of the biggest keys is going to White County because we know White County is going to be a very raucous crowd, guaranteed to be up there because White County needs to get in the playoffs. I like what Coach Webb's doing in Dahlonega. I like what Coach Bennett has put in White County. This one's a tough one for me to pick. I'm going to go with the Warriors in this one.
I thought you were going to go that way. I had that feeling.
So you going the opposite way, right?
I am. First of all, let me say, this is, of all the coaches in the area, these are two of the coaches that I know the best, like Heath Webb, Chad Bennett. I know them both very, very well. So there's going to be no rooting in this one for me because I like both of these guys. But I'm going to take Lumpkin County because I think that if they had lost that game at Gilmer, which came down to just a couple of plays, they lost that game at Gilmer, I'd be right on with you picking White County. But I think that by beating Gilmer, coming back and winning the way they did, and then they get to go into the bye week that way, I think Lumpkin County probably got a little bit of their swagger back in that time frame after what happened at Wesleyan a few weeks ago. I think this Lumpkin County team coming off of the bye week is going to be rested up, healthy, prepared, ready to go. I think they got a little bit of their swagger back. I do think this is a close game because I do think White County is playing better down the stretch here, and all the reasons that you guys said, I think this game is competitive, but I do like Lumpkin County.
Well, I think it's going to be a great game.
And see, I'm not just calling this a trap game for Lumpkin County solely because they're coming off of the bye. And I don't think that Heath Webb has allowed them to look forward to Dawson County because they've had the week extra to prepare for White County, and they're putting a lot of emphasis on this game. Meanwhile, Gainesville coming off the Habersham win last week, then North Forsyth next week. I don't think there's enough time to be able to try and get that look ahead out of the players' heads over in City Park. I think they've had that opportunity in Dahlonega, and that's why Lumpkin County not in a trap game scenario, in my opinion.
We've also had 2 weeks to prepare for White County, right? Like, I mean, from a schematic standpoint, like we saw what Buford's coaching staff was able to do getting ready for Mill Creek, for example. And I'm not comparing the Lumpkin County coaching staff to Buford because Buford's got probably the best in the state. Yeah. But, I mean, it's an illustration of you get that bye week coming into a game like this, the other team didn't. It can be a real advantage.
It can be.
What you got?
It was not, obviously not this past week for Gaining the Edge. This week's was a Jaden Gibson plug for this week's Gaining the Edge. Last week's Gaining the Edge, I went up to Lumpkin, correct?
Yes.
Those kids told me that this year for them, it's about proving to everyone that this is a different Lumpkin County team and that they can play with the best of them. I'm going with this Lumpkin County team. I think this, especially it being the kind of rivalry that it is, I think they go into this one ready to perform. I'm going Lumpkin County.
All right, guys, let's move on to another important game across the area. Loganville at Jefferson, pretty much another region title game.
I'm a little surprised we didn't lead with this one.
Predicted 1 point difference in the in
1
the
point
Maxwell
spread.
lines, a 1 point spread.
I really think this is the Region 8-5A title game. Now, East Side will get to play at Jefferson, so if Jefferson wins, but I'm pretty sure Loganville clinches the region title if they beat Jefferson this week. By the way, how about Loganville? They're not in our coverage area, but they're the best start in program history. That's a program that's been around since the 1960s. Yep. And this is the first time they've ever been 8-0. I believe that's a Loganville alum that is the head coach down there for the Red Devils right now. So, I mean, it's kind of been a magic season. They had that crazy viral trick play to beat Monroe area early in the year. They had to pull one out against Clark Central. They had a goal line stand, I believe, to beat East Side early in the year. So it's been kind of a magical season for Loganville. On the other side for Jefferson, this Dragons defense right now has been downright nasty for the past several weeks. They shut out Flowery Branch last week, back-to-back shutouts in the last 3 weeks, and they've pitched 3 shutouts in their last 5 games. And their last 5 games, they're only allowing 16 total points.
Yeah.
So their defense is just lights out right now. In Jefferson, I talked to head coach Travis Nolan earlier in the week. He said, there's a lot going on this week. They've got they're going to be recognizing the 2012 state championship team at this ball game before the game. It's alumni night at Jefferson. Obviously, this is their first home game since the Elijah DeWitt situation. So for a lot of reasons, this is going to be a very, very intense game atmosphere, I think. And the Loganville fans are going to be out in force. They're ranked number 4 in the state. They're 8-0 for all the reasons I just said. I think Jefferson, with that defense, pulls this one out. I think their defense plays really well, and I think their defense will put them in a position to be able to lean on their running game with Sammy Brown and some of those other running backs. I think Jefferson wins a very, very close game, but I think maybe by a touchdown, something like that. I think Jefferson wins something like 23-17, 23-16, something like that.
Yeah, I agree with you on what you just said. I think it's a defensive battle. I don't know if it's going to be Jefferson Oconee defensive battle.
No, I don't think it's 9-7, but it could be.
But I think it's going to be a defensive battle.
Yeah.
You got both on paper, these two teams basically look the same.
It'll be closer. Yeah. It'll be closer to Jefferson Oconee County than it will to Tennessee Alabama scoreboard wise.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
You had to bring that up.
You knew that was coming. You knew that was coming.
Look, I didn't know it was alumni night. Didn't know that it was recognizing the 2012 Jefferson State Championship team. Didn't know all that. So it's going to be packed over at Memorial Stadium in Jefferson. I'm going to go with the Dragons in this one.
Who did you go with?
I took Jefferson.
Okay.
Yeah, I think playing at Jefferson, that home crowd, going to be into it for all the reasons that Caleb mentioned, and it's the first home game, in quite a while, especially since the Elijah DeWitt situation. So I think this crowd is amped for this game, and Jefferson's playing inspired football right now. I like the Dragons to win.
Yeah, and Travis Nolan is about, I don't know how much you guys have had an opportunity to talk with him. He's about the most reserved guy I've ever talked to in the history of head coaches. Like, he is just the most he never emotionally deviates at all from the flat line. Like, he is just even keel guy. And he never really got like excitement in his voice, but you could hear when he was talking, he was like, yeah, this is going to be pretty exciting. He's like, this is going to be a pretty fun atmosphere. Which,
that is exciting for him.
For Travis Nolan to say that is like a normal coach just being full tilt, yelling and screaming.
Yeah.
Like, that's,
you're right.
He's telling you this is going to be a pretty raucous environment coming up Friday night in Jefferson.
My only question on this, I didn't know it was on. Can that kind of stuff sometimes be a distraction for the team? You have a little longer pregame. You've got all these things, and people are coming at you with all that. How does that play with a team?
Well, both teams have to go through it.
Well, I understand, but when you're at home with all that, is that more of a distraction for the home team?
No.
I think it can be if you don't have the right kind of coaching that allows you to focus up beyond it.
Right. Okay.
But what it does bring in a larger crowd that maybe not would be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you've got alumni night, you've got the
casual people that would not that are not diehard followers of the team. Yeah.
Right. Well, that place is usually packed anyway.
Yes.
So I don't know where they're going to put all the extras. This should be probably the best game of the night. Almost.
I will say Jefferson has got a pretty good amount of visitor seating, and that's a good thing because, again, I think Loganville is going to bring a pretty big crowd as well.
Yeah,
so.
I do too. I think this could be the best game of the night, really. There's a guy that could be Jefferson has Sammy Brown. Loganville has Solomon Leslie. He's third in 6A in rushing with. He's all right. He's right at 1,100 yards, 12 touchdowns. He's already got 6 100-yard games. I mean, that's the guy. Jefferson stops him. I think they shut down this Loganville offense. And we've seen what they've been doing lately with some of these other teams. So I think this, again, this could be a 9-6 game, kind of like that Oconee County game. But early in the year, Jefferson seemed to be working some stuff out. I think they've got it all figured out now, particularly defensively. I think the offense is coming around. If there's a blowout, I think Jefferson romps. But I think it's going to be a close game, and I'm going to pick the Dragons. But this could be. I know you're going to be on the call of that game, and we've got coverage of that. It's going to be a fantastic ball game. So really,
that'll be
looking forward to that
the
one.
best game of the night.
I think so. I'm going to go to the Lumpkin White County game, which I think could be the second best game of the night. I really wanted to go to the Jefferson game, but it kind of works out. So I'm going to be paying attention to that one. But this is going to be a great game. So I'm kind of envious that you're going to get to watch that. I wish I could watch both of them. Oh, I picked. I'm taking Jefferson.
Okay.
I'm going to take Jefferson.
Okay.
And in lieu of Jeff's rather long explanation, I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
That was a long explanation.
Walker, Jeff's
Compared to Caleb's sometimes.
Jeff's whatever you want to call it spiel a while ago. Did you pick? I forgot already.
Yeah,
you
picked the
picked
Dragons.
Jefferson.
All right,
Yeah.
It seems like it was an hour ago. I'm sorry.
Wow.
All right, Lanier and Jackson County, another key region game. Basically do or die for both teams. Somebody's got to win. Somebody's got to lose.
This is for the last
Yes.
playoff spot in the region.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, barring some real craziness, this is for the last playoff spot in the region. I'll start on this one. Man, I don't want to do this, but I'm taking Lanier on the road. I'm taking Lanier, and I'll tell you why. Jackson County, to me, this just kind of feels like the spot. I've seen Jackson County in this position a lot, and I don't know if I can rely on them offensively. I think Jackson County's defense will show up. I don't really have any questions about that. But sometimes Jackson County's offense can go a little MIA in these kind of big spots. We've seen it, over the years. So Lanier is a very physical football team. They have struggled a lot this year, but even against North Forsyth a few weeks ago, they're physical. They will play you tough defensively, and we saw that style of ball kind of wear Jackson County down when they played North Forsyth early in the year. I think this is styles make fights, and I think the style this game's going to play out favors Lanier. So I will take the Longhorns.
Well, I'm going to tell you why you're wrong.
Okay.
I'm taking Jackson County. Lanier 1-3 on the road. They're only averaging 11.6 points a game. They've scored 7 or fewer 3 times in those road games, and they're 45th out of 57 6A teams in defense. So I think and Jackson County plays much better at home. Look, that North Forsyth game that was a 14-7 game, that game was in doubt the entire way. And if North Forsyth does not switch styles, Jackson County wins that game. I think Jackson County can win this, and I think they probably win it by a touchdown or 2. Everything you said about Lanier, but Jackson County, I think they're better than their record. They're better than people think, and they've led at the half in all but one game. And when they figure out how to finish games, they could be kind of one of those dangerous teams in the playoffs.
Also, look at Lanier's schedule and who they face. They've played some tough opposition, and also look at their results. They're getting better as the season wears on. This is not the same Lanier team that was getting hammered in the first month of the season. I think they're a better team right now. That kind of factors into that as well.
Well, you just stick to your wrong pick then, Caleb. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I will.
I think the fact that
Wouldn't be the first time this year, so,
Yeah, you're at the bottom. You're dead last.
look,
true.
Lanier's averaging.
Just Caleb's pure acceptance. He's like,
That's true. That's true.
Sorry, Caleb.
It's like that gif of that Miami Heat player going like,
Yeah.
I feel like I lashed out on you. I'm sorry about that.
no, you're fine.
So Lanier's averaging 12.25 points per game.
Yeah.
Jackson, just under 20 points a game. I don't know if there's going to be a lot of offense in this.
I don't think there will
I
be.
think it's going to be another low-scoring game for both. But I like the Panthers in this one mainly because it's at Jackson County. Both teams do have playoffs on the line here, but I think Jackson County is going to be ready for that. I think the crowd's going to be ready for that, and I think for that reason, Jackson County is going to win this one in a low-scoring, close game.
home field advantage. I agree. Jackson County.
Yeah, I think it's Jackson County winning solely because they've had the bye week to get ready for this. They just came off the thrashing by Shiloh 2 weeks ago. I think they've had time to recoup, get a little healthy coming into this game that means so much in terms of playoff seedings and stuff like that and positions. I think Jackson County wins this one. They're 0-3 in games that are decided by one possession. So if it's that close of a game, be interested to see if Jackson County has figured out how to win a close game. But I think that Jackson County pulls away and doesn't get in that scenario.
All right, guys, there you have it. Our conversation games. Now let's get to the Week 10 rundown. We're going to run down the games, and we're just going to pick them. Here we go. We're going to start.
Let's go.
We're going to start with Athens Christian at Rabun County.
Raven.
Banks County at Athens Academy.
Athens Academy.
Athens.
Cherokee Bluff at East Hall.
Cherokee Bluff.
Hold on,
Bears.
you guys are going way too fast. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up here. So everybody took.
It's been clean sweeps on
Everybody
everything.
took Athens Academy. Everybody took Cherokee Bluff, I believe, right?
Okie doke. All right.
Did anybody take East Hall? Or does everybody got Bluff?
I did not.
Everybody's got Bluff.
All right.
Okay.
Chastity at Cedar Shoals.
Give me Cedar.
Cedar Shoals.
Cedar.
I liked what Chestatee did last week against North Hall, but I think
Yeah.
Cedar Shoals too much.
Okay.
Decula at Buford.
I'll take
Buford.
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 Okay.
Druid Hills at Johnson.
I'm going to go Druid Hill.
Yeah, I went on a limb
I
with
am
Johnson
too.
last week. It didn't pay off, so
Same.
I'm taking Druid Hills.
Druid Hills.
Same.
Druid Hills.
Okie doke.
East Jackson at Union County. Panthers.
Panthers.
I'm taking
Put up 735 yards of offense last week. I like what they're doing offensively, Panthers.
Same here.
I'm going to pull a Walker here. East Jackson.
Ooh!
Well, I'm gonna tell
Taking
you,
the Eagles.
Going out of the
you know,
limb.
I will tell you.
All right.
I will tell you what, Caleb. This was one of the harder games to pick because I really like the way East Jackson's played, but I just could not ignore the offensive numbers that Union has started to put together.
Lumpkin
Yeah.
County went up in there with some physical running the football earlier in the year, and it worked. East Jackson's going to try to do the same thing. I'll take the Eagles.
Elbert
Okay.
County at Commerce.
I'm taking Commerce.
Commerce.
I'm taking Commerce, yeah. I think the Tigers at home battle tested. I've said it a million
Yeah,
times
me
about
too.
them this year.
Commerce.
I like them.
I'm taking Elbert County in this one. Coming off the loss to Rabun, I think they respond to get the win and try and lock down that number 2 seed.
Here's another interesting stat.
Well, hurry up.
If I can get it out right, like
Hurry.
I don't normally do. Both of these teams are 9-0 combined on the road, and Commerce is just 1-2. But I just like the way they're playing. They know how to win the close games, and they got Ivy Tolbert. So I'm going to go with Commerce. But I tell you, this going to be a great game because Elbert, like Commerce, they're undefeated on the road this year.
Thank you for those 2 stats of the day.
Your
Habersham Central at North Forsyth.
No
North
foe.
Forsyth.
Nofo.
Yeah, no foe.
North Forsyth.
Kings Ridge at LCA.
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 LCA. Pickens at West Hall.
Pickens.
Dragons.
Pickens.
Yeah,
I'll take Pickens.
I'm a Pickens. Riverside Military at Lakeview.
Lions
Lakeview.
roar.
Lions do roar.
Yeah, I'll take Lakeview.
I'll take LA. Warren County at Towns County.
Give me Towns in a little bit of an upset.
Yeah, give me Towns.
Okay.
I went with them last week, and they paid it off for me. I'll take Coach Rockmore again.
Okay.
I like that guy.
I'll go with Towns.
I'm going to take Warren County.
Okay,
Sorry.
good for you.
Okay.
Well, it works. Every time I pick against Counts, they win. I'm trying to help them out. So
Here.
there you go.
That's
You're
awesome.
welcome, Coach.
Yes. All right, guys, let's get to your locks. Seth has first pick. Walker has the second pick. Third pick is Caleb. And the fourth pick is Jeff. And then, of course, I'm last. So what say you, Seth?
What is my record at this point?
Nobody,
7-1.
Why do you keep bringing this up?
nobody
no.
cares.
I'm
You're
not.
7-1.
Okay, I wanted to know the number of times he's actually done this. That's really what I was looking for.
Okay.
It
We got
wasn't
to
so
do
seven.
some. We got to do some tape review on that to make sure we're right about that.
Okay.
Walker, we did not start this segment
We'll have
at
that
the
up.
beginning of the season.
We'll have
did we?
that updated next week.
Yeah. So, yeah, last week kind of a bust for me.
What do you got?
Commerce plus 11.
Okay. All right.
Commerce plus 11.
Commerce plus 11.
I hate you.
All right.
I know.
I'm going to go
0 to 60 really fast.
Not in his
I'm
car
gonna-
though. 0 to 60 actually pretty slow.
What you got, Walker?
Don't
I
do it.
think-
Don't do it. Whatever you're thinking about, don't do it.
Do it.
Don't.
Do it.
I think I'm going to go Union minus 15. I love that offense right now, and I think that's the easy pick right there, and that they're just going to put up a ton of points in Blairsville. I don't think East Jackson can score enough.
You're up next.
I'm up next. All right. I am going to take. I've got North Forsyth winning, but give me Habersham Central plus 21. The Raiders seem to play a lot of teams closer than it seems like on paper they have business doing. and I think that they'll do that again this week. So give me Habersham, North Forsyth to win, but Habersham Central plus 21.
Sounds like you've been at a dog track before. I can't believe this fell to me. I'm shocked.
What you got?
I'm taking. Look, I think Jefferson's going to win that game, and I get a point. So I'm taking Jefferson plus 1.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of shocked that nobody took that one sooner.
Although my first choice was the Commerce. So,
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not talking to you, Walker. It's okay. Or whoever
Me?
took it. Who took it? Who took it? Who took it? Seth?
That's
Okay.
hostility against somebody that didn't do you wrong.
Sorry about that, Walker.
You
Okay.
did steal his segment, though, so.
Listen,
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah. So
I think there are two easy
Walter,
ones
just
on
get,
here.
Walter, just get
Left.
used to it. I make this show happen, and they try and find some way to destroy my soul every time. So.
All right, what you got, Bo?
that's fun.
I
it's
think
fun to
there's
do.
I think there's 2 easy ones left. I'm going to
Yeah?
take one of the 2. I'm going to take Bluff in this one. But I also think Athens Academy is pretty good as well.
What was the number on Bluff?
26.
Bluff was
26.
So which one are you taking?
He said Bluff. Didn't he?
Bluff.
Oh, okay. Well,
No
then you
one
said,
taking
but-
Lanier Christian to cover?
Just real quick. This is the first GHSA school that Lanier Christian has ever played. So I'm unsure. I mean, I think it actually could be kind of a statement game for them. If they beat a GHSA school, it could say, hey, this program can really play. And we think they can, but, we don't know what the ultimate level of competition is between the gaps and a little bit higher.
All right, Caleb, what's on the tailgate show tonight?
Well, we're going to hear from Travis Nolan, the Jefferson head coach, about that Jefferson-Loganville game. And then we're going to hear from Walker and some other folks who cover some of the teams around Region 7-3A, kind of get their thoughts on that region race as we head down the stretch.
That ought to be good.
All right, on radio tonight, Decula at Buford 550, Loganville at Jefferson 102.9, and Gainesville at Shiloh on 94.5 The Lake. Also, don't forget to go to the Friday Game Night page on Access to check out stories, highlights, videos, and more after the action tonight. And follow us on Twitter at Friday Game Night for live updates throughout the night from games from around the area. For the entire crew here, enjoy week number 10 of high school football.